live from the drama-free true crime destination. This is Mondays in Memoriam, where silence speaks, names are remembered, and justice refuses to fade. And welcome to the first ever Mondays in Memoriam here at BETHEA'S BYTE Reloaded. I'm Ernest Bethea, the last outlaw. So good to have you all starting this brand new format. And like I said, if it seems like I'm starting off ill prepared, I apologize in advance. But as far as this new format goes, we are starting today. I'm trying something new. I've got a schedule I can agree with, so I'll be on live a lot more than I have than just once a week, which was the old format. I'll be on live at the very least 3 times a week. So this is gonna be something new I'm prepared for, and I hope you will enjoy it as much as I did. All right, so if you're just making your way in, get yourself prepared, grab a lunch, grab your drink. We're gonna kick things off as I once did with a missing persons alert. This is an ongoing Amber Alert out of the state of Idaho. On your screen now, on the left-hand side, is 15-year-old Rochelle Fisher, and I just flipped again. This is her 13-year-old brother, Alan Fisher. Both have been missing since June 22nd out of Montview, Indiana. Excuse me, Montview, Idaho. Rochelle is 15, as I said. She has green hair. Go figure that one. Green hair, brown eyes, stands 5 feet 5 inches tall, weighs 135 pounds. Her 13-year-old brother Alan has blonde hair, blue eyes, stands 5 feet 9, also weighing 135 pounds. Alan was last seen wearing a blue shirt and blue jeans, and Rochelle was last seen wearing a green dress. Both were last seen at 7 o'clock p.m. on June 22nd in Montview, Idaho. According to reports, they may be headed to a FDLS group in Mendon, Utah. How they're traveling is unclear. They may be with adult siblings. Now this, guys, is where you come in. If you have any information at all to the whereabouts of Alan or Rochelle Fisher, you are asked to call 911 immediately. You're asked to call the 24-hour FBI tip line. That's 1-800-CALL-FBI. 1-800-225-5324. You also can submit your tip anonymously. That's at tips.fbi.gov. You're also asked to get a hold of the Jefferson County, Idaho Sheriff's Office. That number is 208 745-9210. 208-745-9210. You can also reach out to the National Center for Missing and Exploited Children. That number is 1-800-THE-LOST, 1-800-843-5678, or you can log on to www.missingkids.org. If you know anything, even the smallest detail, that could be the difference. It could be the key to bringing both Rochelle and Alan Fisher home. Please make sure you get this word out to anyone, and share it to anybody and everybody you know, because it could be the difference. It could be the huge difference maker. And remember, as always, if you see something, please say something. That way we can do something. Let's bring both Rochelle and Alan home and bring them home safe. How you doing, little Annie? It's good to see you. All right. Now let's get into why I'm kicking this off as Mondays in Memoriam. We are going to start with the case of Jayden Spicer. 10 years old. 10-year-old Jayden Spicer found buried. Found buried. Let me go. Let me go like this with this. Let's see. Mother charged after a body of missing Kentucky boy found buried. Now keep in mind this is courtesy of Court TV, and this was one of those cases that really shook me to the core. Kentucky State Police have identified the body discovered in Breathitt County as 10-year-old Jayden Spicer and charging his mother with manslaughter in connection with his death. 33-year-old Felicia Gross faces charges of second-degree manslaughter, abuse of a corpse, tampering with physical evidence, and falsely, reporting an incident after authorities located her son's remains. According to Kentucky State Police Trooper Matt Gayhart, a tip led officers to a wooded area off of Canoe Road where they discovered Spicer's body buried at 3 o'clock that afternoon. Gross is currently being held at Kentucky River Regional Jail. Her records show she previously served a year in jail for endangering the welfare of a minor. Gross previously told authorities that she last saw Spicer sometime last Tuesday night. Keep in mind this article was posted on August 13. Sometime that Tuesday night into Wednesday morning. Police and rescue teams had been searching the area of Spicer's home off Panball Ranch Road in Jackson since he was reported missing. A citation provided additional information on the death of Spicer, revealing that Gross confessed on August 12 to providing her son with sleeping medication, and she believed that he had died from a medical emergency before officials found his body buried. Further, the citation reported that Gross had added that she had taken Spicer's body to a wooded area on Canoe Road near Joe Little Fork Road. Authorities then searched the area where they found Spicer's body buried underground in a plastic tote, according to that citation. Now, I don't know about anybody else, but just reading that article alone, that article alone made me sick to my stomach. You're giving a 10-year-old child sleeping medication. Number one. Number two, you felt that he was undergoing a medical emergency. Instead of calling 911, you take the child to a wooded area and you bury him. For what good reason? For what good reason? If anybody can figure that out, please let me know, because it's sickening. It's sickening and disheartening. It goes a little bit further. it goes a little bit further, but I wanna I wanna hit the quickly hit up the copyright disclaimer just in case you don't see it. All right. Now, what I'm gonna do now is take you to Julie Grant of Court TV for this case that was trending in true crime.
And then kind of walk me through too, because you left and went to work after that. She called 911, and
then I was in here. My helper was pulling here, and then I waited a few minutes, and then the 911 crew came. So after that, I left, and then I came back home. I saw those crews still searching for him.
This is just awful. A nearly week-long search for missing 10-year-old boy in Kentucky ends with the discovery of his buried body. Now his mother is charged in his death. This is Jayden Spicer. He was last seen in Jackson, Kentucky, which is over an hour away from Lexington. Police say his remains were found buried in a heavily wooded area not far from where he went missing. Tuesday, after his body was discovered, officials quickly shifted their focus to a criminal investigation.
This incident has now transitioned from a missing person investigation into an active and ongoing criminal investigation. With that, we must advise that specific details regarding this investigation cannot be released at this time. It is our top priority to protect the integrity of this investigation and seek justice for Jayden.
I think I speak for an entire community when I say that we are devastated and collectively broken over this. I would like to assure the public that now, thanks to these guys, Jayden is now in good hands, and we're going to take care of him. Thank you.
Jayden's mother, Felicia Gross, is facing multiple charges, including second-degree manslaughter in connection to the 10-year-old's death. We're asking this morning, what other outstanding questions do you have about the way Jayden Spicer's disappearance and death occurred? Let's bring in our power panel now. Still with me, the sheriff in Erie County, Pennsylvania, Chris Campanelli, and retired FBI Special Agent Jennifer Coffindaffer. Great to have you both on this. Agent Coffindaffer, let me begin with you here, please. What outstanding questions do you have about this child's death and disappearance, please?
Well, of course, we want to hear the manner and causation, exactly what happened to that child. And believe me, that autopsy is going to tell us a lot of information whenever those results come back. You know, he was taken 18.5 miles, and recall that mutilation of a corpse is also been charged. What did she do to his body after he died? These are questions that just jump to mind.
Yeah, most definitely, Jennifer. Sheriff Campanelli, let me ask you the same question. What sticks out in your mind the most when it comes to the unanswered questions about this case?
First of all, I think our hearts go out to the family of this child. It's a horrific event. I would like to find out and ask her what could cause her to act in such a way and to do such a thing to a child and her own child at that. It's just unfathomable to me.
It really is, Sheriff. You know, when we think about this search, first it was, oh, my child went missing and it was late at night and he's in his pajamas and she's begging people for help. And then we find the child buried in this shallow grave. And then suddenly, you know, the cuffs are on mom, and it's a, you know, big shift from the way America was looking at mom and now how they're looking at things this morning. She's 33 years old, and apparently there's a handwritten note that we have. I want to put it up on your screen here now. Let's take a look. So she's talking about loving her child, wanting him to be home safe. Report this if you know anything, blah, 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 blah. What is this? What is this exactly that we're looking at here? Agent Coffindaffer, what do you make of this attempt by mom here?
Well, I see it as sort of a rambling consciousness where she wants to put something to paper, where she can say she loves him, absolutely self-serving. How many cases have we seen like this? It reminds me a little bit of Susan Smith. We see so many cases right now of missing, like Sebastian Rogers with similar type stories, Summer Wells, Jill and Lily Sullivan. You look at those cases and wow, such similarities, but yet in this case, because a body has been found, we're going to have, a culmination and adjudication.
Sheriff, looking at that note, I want to ask you the same thing. What do you see when you read this note written by mom? We know now she's the accused, hasn't been convicted, just accused at this point, cloaked in the presumption of innocence. What do you think she's angling to do with that note?
I mean, obviously, from my perspective, it looks like she's deflecting suspicion off of herself is what she's trying to do. She wants authorities to believe that she's this loving mother. Obviously, they have some type of evidence against her, so we'll have to see what happens.
Yes. Let's talk about more of what we know about this woman. Felicia Gross is her name. She's 33. Her charges right now, this morning, these could always be amended, but as of right now, it's second-degree manslaughter, abuse of a corpse, tampering with evidence, and falsely reporting an incident. According to the Lexington Herald Leader, court records show involvement with Child Protective Services in the past. A woman named Felicia Spicer, same age, has a conviction for a misdemeanor charge of endangering the welfare of a minor that dates back to 2015. Sounds like the same person to me. That they're talking about, just different last name. We know his last name is Spicer, so I think putting two and two together, we can see perhaps a pattern here. Oh, I don't know. Agent Coffindeffer, what do you think? We're wondering this morning, is mom here going to be the only person charged? Should she be? Do you suspect anyone else may have allegedly been involved here?
Well, what I find interesting, Julie, is that it's second-degree manslaughter, right? Which indicates that there was no intent to particularly harm, but your negligence or recklessness caused his death. So I find that very interesting. Was this something that was truly accidental, like some sort of overdose of some nature or something like that, and was not particularly intended? But then you look at the past and you look at those charges. Listen, people who have the ability to abuse a child, I mean, that's as bad as it gets, Julie, and they can continue doing that in the future without any hesitation, unfortunately.
Right, Jennifer. I love what you said, and I'm in agreement with you. This is telling us something. They've charged manslaughter, not murder, for some reason. We don't know why yet, and as you pointed out, Jennifer, could it be that something terrible, albeit, accidental, but terribly negligent, horrific, maybe drugs? That's what popped into my mind. Sheriff, I'm wondering, I mean, fentanyl exposure, I'm sure you see a lot of that where you are in cases that you have. What are your thoughts when you saw manslaughter, not murder, charged here?
Honestly, I was very surprised as well. And like we were saying, someone that has abused a child in the past, the past is the biggest predictor of the future. So we'll have to wait and see what the evidence provides. But I can foresee in the future there may be a change in that charge.
That's another great point too, Sheriff. It may be amended. Maybe it becomes murder. Again, we don't know the circumstances. We're just putting forth some educated guesses based on what we know and mom's history here, which is not good. It was a grandmother who had been taking care of little Jayden, and she recently passed away, and then he was put back into the custody of his mom, and sadly didn't make it out alive. Jennifer Coffindeffer, does this story make you think of the Sebastian Rogers case?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, such similar situation, right? Prior CPS, walked out of his house in the middle of the night, although there's no camera footage of anyone leaving in the middle of the night, never seen again. It's so similar to that case in terms of the facts that we have at hand anyway. So yes, definitely so.
Yeah, I had a feeling you might say that as you followed that one from the outset, like this one, and that's what I just keep thinking of. It just reminds me so much of pajamas, late at night, it just, with mom. Yeah, it's just incredibly upsetting. We still don't have answers with that one. We'll leave it here for just a moment. I have to say a goodbye and a big thank you to you both for the great analysis. Special Agent Jennifer Coffindeffer, Sheriff Chris Campanelli, thank you both kindly. We're going to continue our coverage about the Jayden Spicer case in just a moment. We'll hit a break. When we come back, we're spotlighting the public outcry. A lot of people upset about what happened to that little boy. And we've got a Kentucky state senator joining us on the program live next.
Now I stopped it here because of there are so many different questions that need to be answered, including like the sheriff had asked, why? What could have possibly brought this mom, Felicia Gross, to the point where she would bury her son? And me personally, I don't want to hear the excuse of I thought he was having a medical emergency. If your son was having a medical emergency, the smart thing to do would be to call 911. Take him to a clinic. Take him to a hospital. Do something of that nature. But burying him? Come on. I don't want. This is one of those cases where we don't want to forget this. We don't want to forget this young man's name, and at the same time, we want justice for Jayden, which is what I'm about to get to in just a matter of moments as we go forward. And now we're gonna shine that spotlight on getting justice for 10-year-old Jayden Spicer. Hi, sir. Back to Julie Grant and Court.
Welcome back. This morning, we're continuing spotlighting the case of Jayden Spicer, specifically the public outcry for justice for him. The 10-year-old's body was found Tuesday buried in a heavily wooded area not far from where he went missing. His mother, Felicia Gross, is facing multiple charges, including second-degree manslaughter in connection to her son's death. The prosecuting attorney addressed the public response to this case while assuring justice for Jayden.
I'd like to take a moment to extend my condolences to the people who loved and cared about Jayden. While this is not the outcome that we had hoped for, we certainly are grateful that we were able to bring him out of the woods today. I'm sorry, guys, this is hard. Finally, I'd just like to say that the outpouring of love and support as a result of this has been absolutely remarkable. And it appears that there are people all over the world that love and care for this baby. Because of that, I would like to assure the public that now, thanks to these guys, Jayden is now in good hands.
Let's talk about this some more with Kentucky State Senator Brandon Smith. Brandon, good morning to you. I understand you joined in the search efforts to find this precious little boy. Tell us a little bit about that experience, if you would, please.
Well, I, like so many other people, had been following the story and had a lot of questions. I was curious early on why, like, an Amber Alert hadn't gone out that with more information was not available. And so when they finally asked the public to start searching, that's exactly what I did. And I hopped on a bike that I've got, and that way I could cover a lot of ground and get back in rough area. And so I went straight to ground zero. And this is tough terrain, and you've got a lot of homes that are off the beaten path for a reason. They don't want to be bothered. They don't want you trespassing on their property. And so it's a difficult area to get into, and there's a lot of other issues that you need to be careful about when you're out doing one of these searches.
Sure. Senator, of course, this was not the result that anybody wanted. Would you tell us what the public sentiment has been like throughout this process, throughout all of the days where everybody was still hopeful, and now with this terrible news that we just received?
Well, hope and anger. A lot of the people were very hopeful that he would be found. I felt like that he would be found. I thought the whole time that I was searching that he was probably hiding. I felt like he, from just feedback I was getting, was probably in a very difficult situation at home, and that if he'd gotten away from them, that he was going to hide. And so, having been an old Boy Scout leader myself, I felt like I knew some good places to look for him, but that he would maybe respond to me and come when I called his name. And I shared some videos of where I was searching for him, so people would know not to search those areas that had already been there. But also, I wanted the camera on to make sure that people knew I wasn't trespassing or nothing, or trying to get on their property illegally. And that's another part about it, is making sure when you're searching that you give people notice and let them know that you're there.
Mm-hmm. Smart, Senator. How about throughout the time period that you were there on the ground and saw other people also searching, did you ever happen to see this child's mom, Felicia Gross, around looking?
No, and I didn't. And I will tell you, I did not see other people out searching. And that could be because they'd already had been through there. I'm not sure. But I met an individual kind of right earlier in the day, right off the bat, that had some information that he had witnessed. And it was very alarming information. But what he shared with me was that he had seen a car come by his grandmother's house, and that he noticed it through the trees because there was a child in it screaming. Now, this is hard for me to share with you. And he said he noticed that car and saw it and where it was going. And then he just said something about it didn't set right. He went to sleep. He woke up the next morning. He saw where the child was missing. And then he reported the information and a description of the car that he heard. But in my head as a parent, just thinking about the child in the car screaming, it was just really difficult for me. And so he showed me an area. We went to the place where he saw the car, and I began literally searching every single road, path, driveway, home, well, garbage dumps, and the anxiety. And I don't know if they've shared some of the video with you all of lifting up some of those mattresses and going through the dump was really difficult for me to think that I'd see a little pair of pajamas there or something. It was really very, very difficult search.
Senator, do you know if this information from this man who witnessed something, we don't know exactly what, do you know if it had anything to do with Jayden Spicer's case? Did law enforcement tie it together? Was it him in that car?
I did not ask because the state police, their job's tough enough the way it is. He had told me that he had already made the authorities aware of it, so I assumed they were also on it. And I just took what he had and went with myself to go do it. But no, I've never found out if that was her car, if they ever identified the car. I do think they know who the owner of that car was, and it could have been a case where it was just a mistaken identity. It may not have been the case. It may not have been her car at all. That stuff I don't know. The state police will know that, and but that was information that I had from literally being, boots on the ground, being there, and so he gave me a good search grid. I know as a father with kids in the car that when they're screaming, I don't figure you're going to go very far, and if the child's really screaming, that I assumed, I kept thinking that she may pull over, maybe have thrown him out, and it just gave me hope. I really was crushed by this when I got home yesterday and found out that they had found him. and he was no longer with us, because up until that moment, I was on the team that felt like this little guy was hiding and that we would find him.
I think we all hope that as well, Senator. There's a lot we don't know because the affidavit of probable cause is not public yet, so we'll look for that piece of information you shared. Perhaps it's tied in here, perhaps not. I'm curious if you know anything as to why law enforcement charged manslaughter rather than another homicide charge that may have been available or more appropriate under the circumstances. Do you know, Senator?
I don't, and I just like most people thinking about it, I assume that it's because she cooperated and did take them to his body, which I'm thankful for. This is something that she could have taken to her grave. We may have never found this baby. And it could be that there are other people involved, and maybe they're wanting to give her some room in order to, work with them if there were other people involved. But I'm not really sure. I know people they're upset by it, they're outraged by it, and for good reason. But right now, we just have to trust the process and let these professional men and women do their job.
Yes, it seems they're quite committed to justice for little Jayden, based on what we saw, in just the preliminary remarks with that press conference yesterday. Senator Brandon Smith, state senator in Kentucky, where this awful tragedy occurred. Thank you so much for joining us this morning, giving us the information you were able to, and every good wish as things move forward in Kentucky for everyone there as they continue healing from this awful death.
Thank you all for covering it.
Certainly.
I'm hiding the next story on screen because I want to bring that back. I want to bring that one up later. But back to Jayden Spicer. I am in total agreement with that state senator and the public outcry for justice. I mean, this is something that needs to be told. It needs to get out there. All over the state of Kentucky. There's a 10-year-old dead. His mother is charged with manslaughter. At best, manslaughter, tampering with physical evidence, and what was it? What else? Falsifying a report, and all she really had to do was just take him to a doctor. If she's claiming that he was suffering from a medical emergency, come on, man. This is just one of 3 stories I'm covering today that turned my stomach in 2. Yet at the same time, my heart and my mind says, in this case, justice for Jayden, because like I said in promoting this was needless, this was senseless. That this child barely had 10 years, barely a chance to live. And as for his mom, Felicia Gross, it's like I said, it's like I've been saying all this time. Kids do not have to worry about the monster hiding under the bed or the monster hiding in the closet. They are right out in the wide open. And to make it worse, they're called mom and dad. Here's another example of what I'm talking about. I'm going to mute this and go to Court TV just to introduce.
Turning now to a devastating case of child abuse in Florida that's really raising questions about and concerns about the child welfare system. The state's attorney's office has filed paperwork to seek the death penalty against a woman, a mother, accused of stomping her 7-year-old daughter to death. Nia Williams is charged with first-degree murder and aggravated abuse in the death of her 7-year-old daughter, Nia Williams. Now, Nia died in April after being brought to the hospital with multiple injuries, including severe blunt force trauma, a lacerated liver, and internal bleeding. Her mother claimed that the child had an adverse reaction to medication, but toxicology tests refuted those claims, and Nia's death was ruled a homicide. Scripps affiliate WPTV reporter Kayla McDermott has more on the story.
In her first death penalty filing since becoming state attorney, Alexia Cox outlines in these documents why she believes Nia Williams should receive capital punishment if found guilty.
For nearly 45 days, Nia Williams has been sitting in a Palm Beach County jail cell for allegedly beating 7-year-old Nia Williams so badly detectives say she killed her. Now, the state attorney's office has filed a motion for Williams to be put to death.
How much could you have done her to make the state want to kill you?
Nia's loved ones, Rebekah Finley and Whitney Walker,
I can't breathe, I can't eat.
tell me every day without Nia is a battle.
So we don't let this light go out. It says, the moment your heart stops, mine changed forever.
To them, death is what Williams deserves.
Oh, it's fit perfect for her. Off her line.
In state attorney Alexia Cox's first death penalty motion, she cites these 5 reasons for the push. Aggravated child abuse, the crime is especially heinous, committed in a cold, calculated manner, the victim is less than 12 years old, and the victim was particularly vulnerable, as the defendant is a family member.
There's more reasons. They're just not listed.
I sat down with John Walsh, the supervising attorney in the fostering division of the Legal Aid Society of Palm Beach County.
In this case, it's a tragedy.
It's also personal, as he represented Nia as an infant and now represents Nia's surviving siblings.
Every child you lose haunts you in this field.
He believes the state could have prevented Nia's death.
In this case, the state filed to terminate her parental rights at one point. Why did they change course? Well, we need to look at the forest and ask ourselves, what could we have done that would have made her safer?
But for Finley, if she could speak with Williams, she would say,
You deserve everything that is coming to you.
In Palm Beach County.
Always justice for Nia.
I'm Kayla McDermott.
What a tragedy. Let's welcome in our guests to discuss these tragic cases. We still have criminal defense attorney, former prosecutor Marie Pereira. We also have author of How Massachusetts Put Harmony Montgomery in the Hands of a Monster, retired juvenile court judge Carol Erskine joins us as well. Great to join us. Thank you so much for joining us, Judge. I truly appreciate it. And of course, Marie. Judge, I want to start with you because, again, we've heard the question asked a couple of times, you know, how could this have happened? It's clear somebody failed somewhere along the way. And there are many, many parallels to the Harmony Montgomery case. First and foremost, I want to get your thoughts on this case and how could we have possibly ended up here under the circumstances?
Well, thanks for having me on. I think there are a lot of reasons that we ended up here, and some of those reasons have to do with the changes that have occurred in so many states in the United States. In other words, many states have actually changed the threshold standard for the reporting of abuse, and so thousands and thousands of reports of abuse every day are just never even investigated by the department. I think people generally have the belief that when you call in a child abuse report, that someone's going to investigate it. But that just doesn't happen in every case. And so the changes in those standards are part of the problem because so many of these reports involving this beautiful little girl just were not investigated. And then the other issue is, and maybe it's cynical to say it, but the states have a mandate to reunify. And unfortunately, just like Harmony's case, the states prefer to reunify, but they do it even when the safety of the child is at risk. And that's just one of the things that has to change We have to start prioritizing the best interest and safety of children and at least giving an equal footing to parents. But the fact of the matter is under the law, that's just not the case.
Well, let me check on that, because one of the things that you said that I think is still generally true in juvenile court, it's generally the overriding principle is the best interest of the child. And I think where the issue comes is in this unification part, where I think the presumption is still that the child is always best with the family. Is that what you mean? Is that where the problem comes in? Because here, clearly there were people who cared for this girl. She had a caregiver, right? And the caregivers went to the child welfare folks and told them, look, there's a problem here. This child is coming to us with all kinds of injuries. We will take care of the child. And still, they put this child in the home of the mother. Now, I will tell you this. At one point, it seems the mother did take a parenting course as part of an order by the court, which allowed her to get her child back. So they're trying to do things here. But is that presumption that the mother or the parents are the best options for these children, is that part of the problem here?
Yes, I think it has become part of the problem, because what has happened is that the rights of children have been subrogated to the rights of the parents. And of course, the Supreme Court has made clear that there has to be clear and convincing evidence of unfitness in order to terminate parental rights. But in a case like this, where there are ongoing problems and so many problems, you have to ask yourself, was just doing a parenting class enough to reunify that child? That's one of the concerns. And yes, parents' rights are extremely important, and we should reunify, and I reunified thousands of cases when it was appropriate. But sometimes it's just not appropriate. And yet states push for reunification and to the exclusion of the best interest of the child. And that's why you see this children like this one dying, like Harmony dying, like the little girl, Rebekah in Arizona. This is what you're seeing. This is a new trend in the United States to subrogate the rights of children to the rights of parents.
Yeah, and Nia Williams had a documented drug problem as well, so that would have to have been taken into account. Marie, let me get you into the conversation here. The DA there is seeking the death penalty for a mother in the death of her own child. According to the other children, there are 3 siblings that Nia had, older siblings. They all said she was sort of the target child, which we see often in these cases, and that her mother stomped her in the stomach, and this is what caused these injuries that led to her death. They have a number of aggravating factors. What do you make of this, a mother possibly facing the death penalty because of the murder of her own child?
She absolutely deserves the death penalty. And I agree 100% with everything Judge Erskine said, because nowadays they're thinking that it's in the best interest of the child to keep the child somewhere where it's familiarity with the mom or the dad or whoever it is. But nowadays, we know that it's not stranger danger that children have to be worried about with all of these cases, with your Lori Daybells and everyone else who's murdering their children. There are too many, I can't even recall them, but it's infuriating to think that to protect the rights of the parents is in the best interest of the children. It's not always like that. Sometimes you just have to take the kids away from these people, because at the end of the day, this woman, she kicked the little girl to death. She kicked her in the abdomen and damaged her organs, and she caused the death of this person. This little person who trusted her, all of the aggravating factors are there. Position of trust, unprovoked, lying about it after the fact. It is so disgusting, I could barely contain myself. But I agree with my esteemed co-panelists 100%. We need to revisit this and protect the children. It's not always okay to just say that's her mama, that's where she belongs. Because look what happened to Harmony, look what happened to her. It's just like, wow, what is in the best interest of the children? Take them away, especially in this case. They had a precursor. They knew she was not a safe person. So it's not something that happened just out of the air. We knew she had abused a child before. What does it take? This? It's heartbreaking.
It is heartbreaking. She missed 50 days of school. The school noticed that she was dirty all the time. In 2021, she had a fracture of the right femur. Again, the biggest, strongest bone in our body. Laceration in the back of the head in 2022. So there were certainly signs here. But Judge Erskine, I want to ask you about how things get complicated when there are other siblings. So she had 3 older siblings. They also suffered abuse, but they all said the one who got the worst was Nia. Nia was actually left at the hospital when she was born. This woman from the beginning had an issue with this child. We often see this. Speak to that aspect of this, that sometimes there's one child who has the most problems. There are siblings, so when you talk about reunification, the fact that there's siblings also kind of complicates things, no?
Yes, it does complicate things, but case law makes clear that you have to look at each individual child. And when you have one child who's the target and you know you have a parent who's abusive like this, you have to assume the other children are at risk. Whether or not those children are the targets isn't the issue. The issue is you have a woman who clearly is dangerous around her own children. As you said, you know, you have a history of one child having a broken femur. I mean, I had hundreds and hundreds of cases where one child was abused and the other child may not have, the other children in the home may not have been as abused. But in those circumstances, and considering the totality of the circumstances, yes, I would remove the other children. I had cases where there was a death of a child, one child who was the target, and then the department seeks to remove the other children. You have to look at the totality of the circumstances and what you're dealing with. And in this case, you're dealing with just an unconscionable level of abuse. And whether the other siblings were involved with that isn't so much as the issue as looking at the parent. I mean, that was the case with Harmony. I mean, he beat Harmony to death. He tortured her pretty much every day, but he had 2 other children. And yes, they had, you know, a different mother. But the fact of the matter is he targeted her, he tormented her, he tortured her, and then he beat her to death in the backseat of the car. But the other children were unharmed. It's not unusual. Sadly, it's not unusual.
Yeah, I tell you, both of these cases, literally, reading about this case brought me to tears. All right, Judge Erskine, thank you so much for joining us today and helping us out with this one, because it's just so tough to figure out or even just report on cases like this.
And it makes me sick to my stomach after dealing with something like that. That I'm gonna hide this next one also, because that's the next story I want to cover. So give me 1 second to hide that. Good. Okay. I'm about to ask a good common sense question right now. I'm gonna put it up as a poll, and I definitely want to hear from you. As soon as I get it. Okay, here we go. All right. If a child is in an abusive home, do you remove said child? Simple yes or no. In this case, it's yes. Yes, that child deserves a safe home. Deserves to be safe, I should say. Or no, the child should be with family. Alright, it's up. I want to hear from you on this, because it absolutely positively makes no sense to me why any child would be subjected to that kind of abuse. And especially in this case where the mother has allegedly stomped her child to death. Come on, guys. I've been in abusive homes growing up. I know the pain that feels like, and that's why I sympathize with these cases. This is why they're the first three I'm bringing up today. I sympathize with it. I advocate for justice for all three of these children who barely had a chance to live. And it makes no sense. If you're gonna keep that child within the reach of that parent, where he or she is forced to subjected to that kind of abuse day in and day out, then yeah, that child has got a death sentence already. And that's my first point. Second point, the parent's supposed to be the child's first line of defense. When the parents fail, are we not supposed to step in? Are we not supposed to do what we have to do to make sure the child is safe? Which is the next question I'm going to bring up in chat. If the parents fail to protect their child, and we do likewise, who's left? There's your thought, right? There's your thought. If the parents fail to protect the child, and then we do likewise, who's left? The child doesn't stand a chance. Like I said, first line of defense, right? You're about to see another example of a parent failing in their duty to protect their child.
On July 27th, officers found the 10-year-old was not breathing, and they say they could see bruising, cuts, and that the little girl was malnourished.
She sustained subdural hematomas, bruising up and down her entire body, missing toenails.
Those injuries described by prosecutors this week as both Baptiste and Woods appeared in court, now charged with first-degree murder following Rebekah's death on July 30th.
This story involving a 10-year-old girl named Rebekah Baptiste will break your heart, and it will make you seething mad at the same time. We're talking about the torture of a beautiful little girl. Ashley Holden from Scripps News Group has the story.
Over a long period of time, this child was subjected to some horrendous conditions.
In court, Apache County prosecutors describing the injuries of 10-year-old Rebekah Baptiste.
I have marked, if for the court's consideration, exhibits 2, 3, and 4, which are excerpts from some of the hospital records regarding Rebekah, the victim who died, indicating both acute, so some very recent, significant, injuries that she sustained, subdural hematomas, bruising up and down her entire body, missing toenails, and then also long-term care issues.
While we still don't know her cause of death, a newly obtained police report says on July 27th, it was Rebekah's dad, Richard Baptiste, and his girlfriend, Nia Woods, who called 911, saying Rebekah was not breathing, telling police she had run away and had been found by a neighbor. But both Richard and Woods were arrested. The little girl was taken to Phoenix Children's, where she died 3 days later.
An actual medical diagnosis said that the above findings are highly concerning for child physical abuse, child sexual abuse, and torture.
Prosecutors allege 2 other children in the home also had injuries. A new complaint says Rebekah's dad and Woods are now charged with first-degree murder and child abuse.
Rebekah was an absolutely beautiful human. She was one of our best students.
The Empower College prep community left grieving. ABC 15 was told Rebekah and 2 of her siblings were students there until family says they recently moved out of the valley. Administrators say staff reported suspected abuse or neglect to the Arizona Department of Child Safety 12 times in the last year.
In terms of what you guys did see, what kind of prompted you to report?
On more than one occasion, and more than one of the Baptiste scholars shared that they felt unsafe or that they did not want to return home. They would make allegations and have markings on them that were evident that aligned with the allegations that they made.
Administrators say DCS told them the case had been assigned to an investigator at least 4 times, but now they want answers.
Do you feel like the state let these kids down?
Yeah, absolutely. We believe that the lack of, absolute follow-through or investigation to support these kids and keep them safe, both physically, psychologically, mentally, emotionally, was not done.
When a child doesn't have a parent to protect them, when a child is being abused by a parent, the last line of defense is the rest of us, the rest of society. And in this case, the school teachers and the administrators, they stepped up, they did what they were supposed to do. They reported it. Then the people whose sole job is to protect the child didn't protect the child. How does that happen? We know what's going to happen to dad and the girlfriend. I don't even need to talk about that. Let's talk about saving our children here. Think Tank back with us, Stephen Longo, Eklund Mercy, and Ellis Palavides. Eklund, I don't know, 12 times in a year they're called. Where there's smoke, there's fire. My goodness, how could you investigate and no toenails? What is going on here?
The issue is the Department of Child Safety. They're booked. They are busy. The case managers have they have files, case files like 100 kids or 100 families, and 100 families, not just minor issues. These are 100 families with severe issues. It makes sense for 4 case managers to try to get to that case. It's 4 case managers that probably were overwhelmed, that got fired, that quit, because it's that hard of a job. Being a case manager is traumatic. So one case like Rebekah's, but there's hundreds in your bag. Like, you have 100 files of Rebekah's, and at any given point, it can get to a fatal, but you don't have the funding, you don't have the people, and the case managers they're not taught to be able to seek out which ones are dire. You know what I'm saying? They're not trained sufficiently to be able to do their job to protect babies like Rebekah. So it's really sad because the teachers.
No, it's sad. It's tragic. But here's the thing, Ellis. I watch news. I hear all this talk about millions for this, millions for that, all this money that is wasted in our government, whether it's federal, local, state, doesn't matter. It is wasted left and right. How on earth can we as a society not have more money to plug into here? These are the most vulnerable. These are our children, like society's children. And when their parents are the ones who are inflicting the pain and the torture, this is when we need the resources to step in. No caseworker should be so overwhelmed, or a system so overwhelmed, that when 12 calls come in about a child being tortured, that nothing gets done. How on earth does our government and look us straight in the face and say, yeah, it's okay, with all the money they waste on everything else?
Well, I think that eventually a civil suit's going to happen, and I assure you that resources will be found to pay that judgment when that comes through. Because at 12 calls, you have an issue. So sometimes maybe it'd be better if there was a more efficient allocation on the front end, because you're going to be paying for this on the back end.
It gets me so angry, Stephen, because we know we pay a lot of taxes. We know we do. Everybody does. Whether it's sales tax, property tax, state tax, local tax, city tax, whatever. Death tax. You just get tax. The money's there. It's where it goes. And why this doesn't make its way to the top of the ladder. These are our children. This is our future. These are the people who cannot, these children can't protect themselves if it's their own parents who are inflicting the damage. How on earth do we let this happen? Collectively, all of us.
I think it's a complete failure within the Department of Child Safety's own procedures and policies. To Ellis's point, when the civil suit does come, and it will come, I think we'll get a good look at the failures of those policies and procedures. Regardless, we all know that government workers and caseworkers within this department are overworked. That's why we're supposed to have efficient policies and procedures to follow, so that the cases that are supposed to be prioritized to protect children get done first. The department's name is Child Safety. How can we not look at this as a complete and utter failure of one of our government institutions?
This is so, and by the way, 2 more children, thank goodness they got out, but it's really hard to accept, right? We know it happened. It won't be the last time this is going to happen, and it's certainly not the first. It's going to happen again and again and again. But like, if you're running a government and this is a department, like, how do you not say, okay, this is the one, this is our top priority. Let's start here and then take care of everything else. Because if the children aren't safe, what's the point? If we can't protect children. And it's not like, oh, we got a call and yeah, we went out there and they made it look pretty. You get 12 calls. 12 calls. And the teachers, so good. They're keeping their eyes and ears open. The kids were actually, seems like they were actually speaking up themselves. And no one's listened. Well, the teachers were listening, but no one else was listening to protect them.
No one's listening. No one's listening, and the end result, no one's protecting the child. And that's what make these stories so heartbreaking, so sickening, so, I mean, it amazes me. Like Vinny said right at the top with the think tank. Parents are the first line of defense, the rest of us the last line. And when we go to report these children being abused, tortured to death, and then we report this stuff to the appropriate people and they do nothing, what's the sense? It hurts to my heart that it hurts me right to my heart that These children are being abused, they're being tortured, they're being neglected, they're being killed by the very people that's supposed to care for them, to love them, you know? One second, guys. I'm trying to pull their photos up once again. If I can't pull it up, then I apologize for that, but it just, it's so disheartening, you know. Can't do it. I'm sorry, guys. I wanted to bring the photos up of those children. Little Annie. Little Annie says, I've witnessed child abuse in public and I called 911. See, there you go. This is what I'm talking about. Now, last line of defense for a child. Good on you, Little Annie. I applaud that. I would do the same thing. I mean, there's discipline and then there's child abuse, and once you cross that line, that's it. Waited for police to come and took a picture of the license plate. Good. Again. You're doing what's best for the child, which is more than I can say for all these different people that say they're looking out for the best interests of the child, and we get stories like this. To recap and not call names, we have a 10-year-old. Let's see. Little Annie says the police came fast. Of course, they can't get that fast enough when it comes to a child. How? I'm glad. For you, I'm glad they did. We have a 10-year-old who was given sleep medication. And then buried in a wooded area. When all the mother had to do was take him to a doctor. We have a mother sitting on trial right now for allegedly stomping her 7-year-old to death. The prosecutors in that case seeking the death penalty. And then we have a 10-year-old out in Arizona. 10-year-old who was beaten, tortured, and then left on a highway in Arizona. Who's really protecting our kids? Because it's sure. I ask that question in all sincerity because it's sure not. It's surely not Jayden Spicer's mother. It's surely not Nia Williams' mother. And it's most definitely not the father of Rebekah Baptiste. So who's protecting our kids? And the worst question is, who's next? Who is next to die at the hands of mom or dad? or perhaps both. It really hurts to bring stories like this. And I don't care what format I bring it to you from. It is astounding. Absolutely astounding. Oh, wait a minute, guys. I have an update for you. In the Jayden Spicer case. See? This is why you come to BETHEA'S BYTE Reloaded. Yeah. Prayers and love for those precious angels, I agree. Stick around, Annie, because I do have an update for you on the Jayden Spicer case. And you are about to catch it right now. This is out of Jackson, Kentucky. A Kentucky woman and her husband have been indicted for the death of her 10-year-old son, whose body was found after he had been reported missing. Felicia Gross was indicted on a charge of murder in the death of her son, Jayden Spicer, as well as falsely reporting an incident, tampering with physical evidence, abuse of a corpse, and 2 counts of tampering with a witness. Spicer's stepfather, Joshua Gross, has been indicted for complicity to murder, complicity for falsely reporting an incident, tampering with physical evidence, abuse of a corpse, and 2 counts of complicity to tamper with a witness. Felicia pleaded not guilty to the charges of second-degree manslaughter at her first court appearance last Thursday. A citation that Felicia confessed to giving her son sleeping medication. She allegedly told police that she believed Jayden had a medical emergency causing his death. Days after the child was reported missing, police say Felicia led them to where she had buried her son in a plastic tote. Felicia also coached the victim's younger siblings about what to say in police interviews. So now it's not just her, it's the stepdad too. Again, I've got to say it again. You don't have to worry about the monsters hiding under the bed, kids. You don't have to worry about the monsters hiding in the closet. And you don't have to worry about them popping up at night because they walk in broad open daylight. And to make it worse, you call them mom and dad. They're supposed to be the ones on the front line to care for you, protect you, and love you with everything in them. In these cases, they've done anything but. And as a result, you have family members crying. You have communities in Florida, in Kentucky, in Arizona. You have communities in those 3 states crying out for justice. Now I've got news for you. You've got somebody else here in the state of Oregon who knows a little something, who's just finding out a little something about your respective cases. And he's crying out for justice for all of you as well. So as I leave you, I want you to remember those names. Jayden Spicer, age 10. Nia Williams, age 7. And Rebekah Baptiste, age 10. Let us pray for the comfort for those families. And let us seek justice for the lives that were robbed way, way too soon. I want to thank you all for joining me for the first Mondays in Memoriam. I'll be back on Wednesday for a midweek wrap up of all the news and court events, trials that's going on across the country. And again, you're invited to join the conversation. I will keep putting up links for you to join in. If you want to join in on the live panel, you're welcome to join in the chat as well. But at the same time, again, I thank you. I would love for you to keep in contact with me. Oh, let's see what we got. We got one more. Yes, I couldn't have said that any better. Annie. And by God, same thing applies with our missing persons cases as well. Well, regarding Rochelle and Alan Fisher that I profiled earlier in this edition of Mondays in Memoriam. If you see something, by God, please say something. That way we can do something to bring those two home. If you see something, say something. That way we can get justice for Jayden, for Nia, and for Rebekah. If you want to get in contact with me, I'm not too hard to find. Get me up on Facebook at BETHEA'S BYTE Reloaded, on X at EKB316 all caps, here on YouTube at BETHEA'S BYTE Reloaded, Instagram at EKB316 all lowercase, on TikTok while we still have it at King of Hearts 316 2021, or you can email me, and I encourage you to do so. The address is kingofhearts316_09 at outlook.com. Remember how we always closed out on the old format? It's still the same motto here. This is your home for true crime news without all the drama, where your opinions matter, lively debates are encouraged, your voice is heard, and above all else, justice is served. Oh, and it's an honor to do this. Like I said, I'll be back Wednesday with the midweek bite. We're gonna give a midweek wrap up of all the true crime news and legal proceedings in courtrooms across the country, and I look forward to having you here. Until then, guys, you all know what to do. Thank you, and until we meet again, bite.
Thank you all for joining me here at the Drama-Free True Crime Destination. Be sure to follow BETHEA'S BYTE Reloaded all over social media and get your coverage of true crime news with no gimmicks, no drama, and no BS. This is BETHEA'S BYTE, and it's reloaded.